Hello everyone, I am back. My name is Vanessa. The name of my channel is called Gnostic Knowledge. And what I am doing on this channel is reading from a book. The name of that book is called Letters and Numbers, written by Zachry Hubbard. And it is pertaining to gematria. Gematria is the encoding of numbers within our letters. Every word we speak has a numerical value. And the more you learn about gematria, the more you learn about how the code works, because it is definitely 1,000,000% a code that affects everyone on this planet via the powers that shouldn't be. And you can get a copy of this book by visiting Zachry Hubbard's YouTube channels, Gematria Affect News or Gematria Affect Sports. And in the link of, well, not in the link, but he leaves a link in the description of every video he produces for you to purchase the book. The book is $5, and that will be the best $5 you'll ever spend in your life, because the information contained in this book, you won't get it anywhere else. Zachry Hubbard broke the code of gematria to everyone. He's written this book to make this information available to every person. And everyone should read this book. You know, if the more people that wake up, we need everybody to wake up to this code so it can stop, so the system can be changed. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, this book will come to you via email as a PDF file, so be sure you save the book. He left the copyright off this book, so you can have it made into a book for your own personal library. You can upload it to lulu.com and they will bind it into a book, or you can take it to your local bindery or email it to them or what have you. But you can have it bound into a book. Keeping it as a PDF file is awesome, because there's over 700 pages in this book, and right now I'm on page 733, so there are more pages in this book. So you need this information. You need to know what gematria is, and stop thinking that, oh, it's stupid, it's just, oh, that doesn't make sense, because this is exactly how the world operates, how man is operating the world via a numeric code, an alpha numeric code. So be sure to order the book Letters and Numbers, written by Zachry Hubbard. He wrote a second book as well called Number Games, 9/11 to Coronavirus, and it is a continuation of Letters and Numbers. You can get this book now. It's available on Amazon as a pre-order, and I believe the book will be released October 13th, and the book should be shipped out to you. But this book, Number Games, it is filled with a lot of the events of this year, 2020. Kobe Bryant's death is in this book. Naya Rivera, the rapper Pop Smoke, that was killed this year. There's every event that has taken place this year is practically in that book, and I'm sure you can write a book probably every single day with what's taking place via this code. So if you don't want to order that book by via Amazon, you can go to his to Zachry Hubbard's blog page, gematriaaffectnews.blogspot.com. And the first thing you'll see when you arrive at that page is the advertising for the book Number Games, 9/11 to Coronavirus. And as you scroll down, you'll see the instructions on how to purchase the book within the United States and abroad. But just be sure to get the book, share the information, learn the information. And you know, it's still mind-blowing that people think this is something that's stupid. It's not. You know, only people who don't want to know what knowledge is or know what is really going on, those are the people that's going to call this stupid, because this is exactly what's taking place. This world is being run by the hands of the wicked via an alpha numeric code. With that said, be sure to read the blogs that Zachry Hubbard blogs on that page. He also has another blog page called freetofindtruth.blogspot.com, and he had been blogging there for over 5 years. There's a massive amount of content to read there and to get familiarized with gematria and how it works. But he spoon feeds the information to you in his book. And right now I am in chapter 21, and it is called Undeniably Rigged Collegiate and Professional Sports. And this will be the second reading for this chapter. And I am starting, like I said, on page 733. And without further ado, I will begin reading. Okay. Let us now transition to the National Basketball Association, where we began with Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. This time we'll pick on LeBron James, who is the current face of the league. On his back, he has the tattoo as shown that reads "The Chosen One," and I will show you that right there. That's the back of LeBron James. Okay. Okay. This tattoo is no accident and is more or less a branding as cattle are marked on the ranch. It's crazy. To prove this is the case, we will examine the gematria that is revealed. As we decode, consider what we learned about Tom Brady and the significance of the number 98. Much like Tom Brady, LeBron James is the face of his team, and bigger than that, the face of the entire National Basketball Association. So, chosen one, the number one. So, that equates to 98 in reverse ordinal. The one makes no difference in the calculation because, you don't count the one, but I'm going to show you that decode right there. And I will continue reading, but that's the decode. Okay. And then chosen one with ONE, that equates to 98 in the ordinal cipher. National Basketball Association equates to 98 in reduction. Chosen one with the number 1 equates to 26 reverse reduction. Jordan equates to 26 in reduction. Bryant equates to 26 in reduction. On the subject of the number 98, I want to go back in time and show you how I called the first meeting of the Cavaliers and the Warriors in the NBA Finals, as it had everything to do with the number 98 as well as 57. As we examine the riddle that was put down February 26, 2015, keep in mind LeBron James, the star of the Cleveland Cavs, and Steph Curry, the star of the Golden State Warriors, were both born in the same hospital in Akron, Ohio, a hospital where a number of NBA players have been born to NBA fathers. In other words, this seems to be a birthing place for those who are chosen to represent the league, represent in the league. Anyhow, on February 26, 2015, the 57th day of the year, the number corresponding with NBA Finals and championships in general, the Cavaliers defeated the Warriors and LeBron James, summing to 42 in reduction. LeBron James, his name equates to 42 in reduction, scored a season high of 42 points. Keep in mind, NBA Finals also has reduction gematria of 42 when S is counted for 10. What I pointed out that night was the number 42 had been retired by the Warriors and the Cavaliers for the NBA star Nate Thurmond, who was born in Akron, the same as James and Curry. Better yet, the date of the February 26th game had numerology of 63. So that would be 2 plus 26 plus 20 plus 15. That equates to 63. And Nate Thurmond sums to 63 in reverse reduction, as does Cavaliers. At the same time, Nate Thurmond sums to 153 in ordinal, and Cavaliers sums to 153 in reverse ordinal. As a reminder, the number 53 is the 17th triangular number, corresponding with the fact NBA has ordinal gematria of 17. Ohio is the 17th state, and the Cavaliers were the 17th team to join the NBA. Most important of all, that game was played 98 days before the start of the NBA Finals, which was June 4th, 2015. If you go back and look, or perhaps you recall as I do, Game 1 of those NBA Finals played on June 4th went to overtime with a score of 98-98. And here I had said 98 days earlier this would be the NBA Finals matchup, in large part because of the significance of this number. The Warriors ended up taking Game 1 in overtime, winning with 108 points. As we have covered, geometry connects to the number 108 in a big way. And at the same time, Golden State Warriors equates to 108 in reduction gematria when S is counted for 10. And as another reminder, their star player, Steph Curry, has the Pi Day birthday, March 14th, where pi is extremely relevant to geometry. Better yet, the date of Game 1 of the NBA Finals had numerology of 45, connecting to the reduction gematria of geometry. That numerology was as follows. The date 6/4/2015. You add 6 plus 4 plus 20 plus 15. That equates to 45. And for one more related point, it was the Cavaliers' 45th NBA season. The Warriors would end up winning the NBA Finals, closing out the Cavaliers 4-2, not unlike 42, and doing so on a date with numerology of 57. That date was June 16th, 2015, having numerology of 57 as follows. 6/16/2017, you would add 6 plus 16 plus 20 plus 17. That equates to 57. Okay, consider that was the Warriors' 69th NBA season, and they won the championship, defeating the Cleveland Cavaliers, summing to 69 in reduction gematria. Understand that if you go through all of the history of sports championships, you'll notice how these same types of repetitive patterns repeat, further proving that the entire world of sports is an ongoing script, with the seasons and careers being planned out long in advance. Wow. For another interesting point is that, well, that's not what it says. It says another interesting point is that Andre Iguodala, and I'm pretty sure I'm butchering that name, but it is spelled Iguodala. Andre Iguodala would be named the Finals MVP. 139 days, Freemasonry equals 139 in ordinal, but he would be named the Finals MVP 139 days after his 31st birthday, January 28, 2015. Consider both Andre Iguodala and Finals MVP share ordinal gematria of 112 like mathematics. 112 like mathematics. And better yet, he was a long-time Philadelphia 76er, the city that the Warriors originally called home when they won the first BAA championship in 1947. 47. And on the subject of 47, I should note that the name Iguodala equates to 47 in reverse reduction. And again, that is spelled Iguodala. Okay? Another important point to make is that there had been a national news story about a train wreck in Philadelphia on May 12, 2015, during the time of the NBA playoffs. If you'll recall, the train was supposedly traveling 106 miles per hour and had number 601 on the front of it, on a date with numerology of 52. Okay, so that would be 5th month, 12th day, 2015. So you would add 5 plus 2 plus 20. No, I'm sorry. 5 plus 12 plus 20 plus 15. That equates to 52, where the numbers 52 and 106 corresponds with the reduction and ordinal gematria of prophecy, respectively. And even further, this had taken place in the city named for the book of prophecy, Revelation. Wow. And even further, this had taken place in the city named from the book of prophecy, Revelation. So Philadelphia. Okay. Factoring into the riddle, this incident came 35 days before the Warriors, originally from Philadelphia, won the finals over King James. Of course, this train wreck was complete propaganda and a contrived news story that was in tribute to the scripted NBA Finals, as well as the film Trainwreck, about to release, starring LeBron James, aka King James, a nickname summing to 35 in reduction gematria. Proving the point that this was a planned ritual and contrived propaganda even further is the fact that the film Trainwreck, released July 17th, 66 days after the May 12th crash, which is the number corresponding with LeBron in ordinal and LeBron James in reverse reduction. Better than that is the fact that the train wreck was first reported to have crashed at 9:23 p.m. local, and the name LeBron James sums to 923 in Jewish gematria. Wow. On the subject of train wrecks and sports, there is a history with the state of Pennsylvania. The reason this is so is because of the history of the Pennsylvania Railroad Company, the fact that Pennsylvania makes the steel for the tracks, and the fact that the Freemasons in charge like riddles. So stupid. Now that's stupid, but that's what it is. Consider, before Villanova won the 2016 NCAA men's basketball tournament, the day prior, April 3rd, 2016, an Amtrak train had crashed in close proximity to their campus. As I pointed out, the cause of the crash, a backhoe on the tracks, was a word having Jewish gematria of 79, similar to champion, summing to 79 in ordinal. Keep in mind the number 79 is the 22nd prime, and basketball has reduction gematria of 22. At the same time, backhoe sums to 36 in reverse reduction, like how Villanova sums to 36 in reduction, who again won the tournament championship in their 36th tournament appearance. Beyond that, Villanova Wildcats sums to 64 in reduction, and Amtrak sums to 64 in ordinal. Amtrak also sums to 44 in reverse reduction, and the train wreck came exactly 44 weeks after the Amtrak wreck in Philadelphia on May 12, 2015. Thus, the ritual couldn't have been more perfect. Even more recently, February 14, 2018, the day the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl, there was a reported Amtrak crash in Casey, South Carolina. This wasn't too far from where Alshon Jeffrey, Alshon, where Alshon Jeffrey played his college football, who guaranteed the Eagles would win the game. It was also a location that was right for a tribute to the Super Bowl. First of all, KCCAYCE sums to 98 in reverse ordinal, the same as Amtrak, like how Super Bowl 52 closed out the 98th NFL season later that day. Second, South Carolina sums to 57 in reduction gematria, like how the Eagles would go on to win their first championship in 57 years, 57 weeks after Jeffrey guaranteed he would be the winner of Super Bowl 52. And third, they said the wreck happened at 2:35 a.m. local while showing a train with the number 47 on its side, reminiscent of how the first Super Bowl was played in the 47th season of the NFL. Moving on. For the following NBA season, it was easy to see there would be a finals rematch of Warriors and Cavaliers, and I guaranteed before the season began this would be the case and the Cavaliers would take the cake. I made that prediction for two reasons. One, the city of Cleveland had not won a pro sports championship since December 27, 1964, when the Cleveland Browns won it with Jim Brown. Think about that for a moment. Jim Brown, a brown man. Oh, God, it's just sick. Okay. Okay, let me go back. One, the city of Cleveland had not won a pro sports championship since December 27, 1964, when the Cleveland Browns won it with Jim Brown. Think about that for a moment. Which would be 51 years and change when the 2015-16 NBA Finals rolled around. The number 51 mattered because Cleveland sums to 51 in reduction when V is counted for 22. And at the same time, the word conspiracy equates to 51 in reduction as well. The second, the NBA Finals were to end on June 19th, 2016, which was the real King James's birthday, where LeBron James, the star of the Cavaliers, was nicknamed King James. If you have forgotten, please recall that we learned in earlier chapters about the history of the real King James and where the name Cavaliers comes from, which were the followers of King Philip, the son of King James. Knowing this history, it was easy to see that June 19th, 2016 would be the date of the deciding game, and no doubt go in favor of the one they call the King, as it did. Wow. Okay, I'm going to read this headline here. Curry's shocking miss ends Warriors' 54-game home win streak. Alrighty, that's the headline. Before we get to the championship, I want to point out a symbolic moment in the regular season. April 1st, 2016, days from the start of the playoffs. ESPN, summing to 54 in ordinal and reverse ordinal gematria, would feature an NBA doubleheader. The first game was the Cavs over the Hawks, with the Cavs picking up their 54th win of the season. The second was the Warriors falling to the Celtics at home in Oracle, summing to 54 in ordinal and 108 in reverse ordinal, and having their record 54-game home winning streak snapped. As I pointed out then, the Hawks had gone down to the Cavs, losing that night with 108 points, which was pointing to the riddle with history. It was that from 1957 to 1966, the Boston Celtics had played in every single NBA championship, only losing once to the Hawks in 58. Now, here we were talking about the Warriors going down to the Celtics and the Cavaliers beating the Hawks. Get it? Man, the Cavaliers would end up finishing the regular season with 57 wins, which I told people then was another sign they were destined to break the Cleveland curse and win the NBA Finals. On the way to doing so, the media got cute, putting out the image shown to the left. What the image was paying mind to was the fact that the Cavaliers' opponents in the NBA playoffs were the same opponents the Cleveland Indians, the Major League Baseball team, were facing in the regular season at that particular time. So I will show you that picture right now. Okay. Make sure you can see that. Okay. All right. Okay, this was yet another example of the media putting the truth about how scripted sports are in plain sight. As we'll get to, the Cleveland Indians would end up facing the Chicago Cubs in the World Series later that year, which was another prediction I nailed, all from knowing the code. When LeBron advanced to the finals, beating the Toronto Raptors, ESPN showed that he had become the first player to go to 6 straight finals since 666, okay, when Bill Russell had last done it. As we covered, both LeBron and LeBron James have gematria of 66 in the base ciphers, like number of the beast. Further, both basketball game and the NBA Finals equate to 666 in Sumerian gematria, which is the number of the beast. And also factoring into the riddle, the Cavaliers were in their 46th NBA season, and the 1611 King James Bible leaves 666 chapters remaining after Psalms 46. These people. Sure enough, Game 1 of the 2016 NBA Finals would pay tribute to King James, with the Cavaliers losing with 89 points. Again, both King James and religion equate to 89 in ordinal gematria. The Cavs would then lose Game 2 by 33 points, a margin connecting to the gematria of James and NBA Finals, before winning Game 3 by 30, a number connecting to Bible. After Game 4, the Cavaliers would find themselves in a 3-1 hole, losing to the Warriors, who finished with the symbolic 108 points in Oracle. Okay, I told my followers then that was the moment to bet on the Cavaliers to win the finals, because the payout was gargantuan, given the fact that no NBA team had ever come back from down 3-1 in the finals. For those who took my advice, they were handsomely rewarded. Consider that prior to the Cavs coming back from being down 3-1, the Warriors had just come back from down 3-1 in the Western Conference Finals to face the Cavaliers. Thus, what the Warriors did to the Oklahoma City Thunder foreshadowed what James would do to the Warriors in the next round. For a gematria parallel, Oklahoma City Thunder sums to 223 in reduction, whereas James sums to 223 in satanic gematria. Again, King James ruled for 22 years over 3 kingdoms, 223. Okay, following the pattern, the NBA Finals sums to 322 in Jewish gematria. It's crazy. The series would then return to Cleveland, where LeBron and company would win 2 in a row, the second game finishing 115-101 for a sum of 216 points, to go with it being the last game in Cleveland for the series, the 216 area code, and the product multiplying to 6 times 6 times 6. And don't overlook that 216 isn't too far off from the year Cleveland would win it, 2016. At the same time, it should be noted that both Finals and Philadelphia, the original home of the Warriors, share base cipher gematria of 101. That brings us to Game 7, which again was played on June 19th, 2016, what would have been the real King James's 450th birthday, being born June 19th, 1566. You'll recall King James was made a king at just 13 months of age, and in the case of LeBron, he was in his 13th season with the NBA. Further, 41 is the 13th prime number, and the word king has ordinal gematria of 41, plus the day of June 19, 2016. Plus the day of June 19, 2016 had numerology of 41, and you would add 6 plus 19 plus 16, that equates to 41. At the same time, the date had numerology of 61, and the word finals has ordinal gematria of 61. Thus, it was a fitting date to close out Game 7 of the championship series, where 61 also breaks down to 7 in numerology. Shoot. Not by coincidence, LeBron James would win the game in Oracle Arena, summing to 93 in ordinal with 93 points, while the Warriors fell with 89, connecting to King James. It was LeBron who put in the final point of the game, going 1 for 2 at the free throw line, moments after smashing to the floor and having the clock stop at 10.6 seconds, which was no accident. Man, as you know, the number 106 is one of prophecy. And here the game was in Oracle Arena, which stands 106 feet tall. Don't forget the 106 mile per hour train wreck, and where the word oracle has to do with future telling. Better yet, by LeBron going 1 and 2 at the time, he finished the game with 27 points, much like how Revelation, the concluding book of the Bible, is the 27th book of the New Testament. Not by coincidence, 27 days after Game 7 concluded, Nate Thurmond would drop dead at age 74, where the king has ordinal gematria of 74, same as killing. Nate Thurmond's passing came July 16, 2016, a date with numerology of 59, the number connecting to Negro, slave, and kill. Bastards. On the subject of the word slave, I should note that slavery has reverse reduction gematria of 42, similar to how LeBron James sums to 42 in reduction, and the date he won the championship, known as Juneteenth, is also the date in history that the slaves were freed, which was June 19th, 1865, 151 years earlier. Once again, the number 151 is the 36th prime number, and Cavaliers has reduction gematria of 36. At the same time, let us not forget the number 666 is the 36th triangular number. Dirty people. Crazy. Oh, these people should be ashamed of their freaking selves. Another noteworthy item is that by the Cavs winning Game 7 on the road, they became the first team to do so since the Washington Bullets achieved the feat in 1978. In that year, they had defeated the team in Washington State, the Seattle Supersonics. This was interesting because Cleveland has ordinal gematria of 78, same as NBA Finals. And with regards to the team from DC being the last team to do it, consider that it is the headquarters of the headquarters of the Scottish Rite, which George Washington was a member of, and where Scottish Rite has reverse reduction gematria of 78. For another Freemason parallel, both Seattle and Oakland are on the 122nd meridian west, and Freemason equates to 122 in Francis Bacon gematria. For another ritual, with the 2016 NBA Finals, LeBron James made headlines when he wore a t-shirt of the deceased WWE star Ultimate Warrior, who passed at age 54, mocking the fact that he had just beaten the Golden State Warriors in Oracle with the Ultimate Comeback, which was a comeback that began 3 years, 2 months, and 2 days after his death. The NBA Finals equals 322 in Jewish. What wasn't mentioned in the reporting about LeBron wearing the t-shirt was that Ultimate Warrior had died April 8th, 2014, a date with numerology of 46, similar to how the Cavs had just won the finals in their 46th season. And don't forget, sacrifice sums to 46 in reduction gematria. And so I will show you that picture, that LeBron James, of him wearing that shirt, and hopefully you can see it. Yeah, but these people's handlers are just some wicked ass. Oh my goodness, I'm just so glad that I just know what's going on. I just put it that way. Further, Ultimate Warrior died on the 98th day of the year, connecting to the gematria of National Basketball Association and chosen one. The number one. Chosen and the number one. So chosen. Wow. The name Ultimate Warrior also has reverse reduction gematria of 103, reminding that Game 7 of the NBA Finals was the Cavaliers' 103rd game of the season, which is the 27th prime, connecting to LeBron finishing the game with 27 points. As we covered in the chapter on Murder by Numbers, actor Anton Yelchin was killed before the game at age 27, having birth numerology of 103. Even more, the date April 8 can be expressed as 48, similar to 48, and Cleveland sums to 48 in reverse reduction, whereas James sums to 48 in ordinal gematria. On the subject of 48, let's not forget what we discussed about Donald Trump summing to 48 in reduction, having his GOP convention in Cleveland after the Cavs won the championship, who then went on to defeat Hillary Clinton, who had her DNC convention in Philadelphia, the original home of the Warriors. Wow. As we learned earlier, on November 10th, 2016, 144 days after the NBA Finals concluded, LeBron James and Donald Trump appeared in the White House together. On that same Thursday night, the nearby Baltimore Ravens, who were once the Cleveland Browns, hosted the new Cleveland Browns, beating them 28-7, a sum of 35 points, and no doubt a tribute to King James, who had just brought the first championship to Cleveland since the Browns did it way back in '64, the year of the Civil Rights Act. Altogether, this was another shining example of how the world of sports and news are rigged together, and how the rigging is made to mock the goyim who failed to add 1 + 1 is 2. Absolutely freaking right. Oh my goodness. Oh my word. Let us now transition to the next NBA season, where the Warriors and Cavaliers would meet for a third straight time. That match was all but certain after the opening night of the regular season, when the Cavaliers would win their game 117-88, and the Warriors would lose theirs 129-100. Notice the margins in the score were 29 points for both games, where the number connecting to games. Let me start over. Notice the margins in the score were 29 points for both games. The number connecting to Ohio, reminding that Curry and James were both born in the state. Further, it was the Cavaliers' 47th NBA season, and Ohio has ordinal gematria of 47. Better yet, the Cavaliers won with 117 points, connecting to Ohio in Jewish gematria. Wow. Buckeye in reverse ordinal, and Buckeyes in Francis Bacon. So, Let me reread that so I can have this in context. Better yet, the Cavaliers won with 117 points, connecting to Ohio in Jewish gematria, Buckeye in reverse ordinal, and Buckeyes in Francis Bacon. In case you have forgotten, Ohio is the Buckeye state. For a couple more 117s, LeBron James had earned the nickname the Godfather, summing to 117 in ordinal. Think about how The Godfather was a trilogy, absolutely. And it was reported The Undertaker from the WWE was in attendance for Game 1. Not by coincidence, Undertaker also sums to 117 in ordinal gematria. I should note, the Godfather nickname was earned in his 13th NBA season, where 13 has reverse ordinal gematria of 117. I should also point out that opening night of the 71st NBA season, the games were played on a date with numerology of 71, October 25th, 2016. Okay, and that date you would add 10 plus 25 plus 20 plus 16 equates to 71. For another riddle, connecting to the NBA and MLB, at the same time the Cavaliers were beating the Knicks, the Cleveland Indians were hosting the Chicago Cubs in Game 1 of the World Series, where the Cubs had not been in a World Series since 1945, which was 71 years earlier. Consider in the prior NBA season, the Cavaliers were playing the same team as the Indians, where both teams were championship bound. Oh my God. As for the significance of the number 71, as I stated then, don't forget that 17 is the reflection of 71, and Ohio is the 17th state, a riddle that would no doubt be crucial for the upcoming NBA Finals, as it was, and as we'll get to. Along the path to the third consecutive championship between the Warriors and the Cavs, a major blowout would occur when the squad from Oaktown annihilated the team from Cleveland 126-91 by a difference of 35 points. That occurred on January 16, 2017, Martin Luther King Jr. Day in Oracle. Fittingly, January 26, 2017 was a date with numerology of 54, and you would add 1 plus 16 plus 20 plus 17, that equates to 54. In addition to 35 being the number connected to King James, it is important to note that the Warriors had signed Kevin Durant, number 35, in the offseason, who was hungry for his first NBA championship. As for why Kevin Durant wore the number 35, it was because his high school coach, known as Chucky, had died prematurely at age 35 when he was murdered by gunshot April 30th, 2005, a date with numerology of 59. Worse yet, the name Chucky has reduction gematria of 35 when K is counted for 11, and ordinal gematria of 71, like how Kevin Durant would win his first NBA championship in the NBA's 71st season, playing with the Warriors in what was also their 71st season. Not by coincidence, the Warriors would end up closing out the Cavaliers in the finals on June 12th, a date that can be written as 12/6, similar to their 126-point win on MLK Day. It was the perfect date to win it in the 71st season because 71, written as words, has reverse ordinal gematria of 126, and further, Oakland, where it was 1, has Jewish gematria of 126 as well. Further, it was 12 weeks and 6 days after Steph Curry's birthday, or said otherwise, a distance of 90 days, where Golden State Warriors summed to 90 in reduction gematria. These people, oh my gosh. As we discussed earlier, the 2017 NBA Finals were very mathematical because the Warriors had signed David West, who upon joining the team got a tattoo of the golden ratio symbolizing phi, P-H-I, or 1.61, which corresponded with the Warriors going 16-1 overall in the NBA playoffs. Better yet, the word tattoo has reverse ordinal gematria of 71. At the same time, tattoo equates to 35 in reverse reduction, and West had signed with the Warriors just before turning 36 years old. Man, the rituals weren't done. The rituals weren't done there, though. With the Warriors winning the championship in Oakland, it became the first championship won by a Bay Arena team since 1974. This was perfect because Kevin, summing to 74 in reverse ordinal, had joined the Golden State Warriors on July 4th, 2016, emphasis on 7-4, recall the gematria of Holiday and Independence Day, both equating to 74. On Mother's Day, May 14, 2017, the number 74 was paid respect to in a big way. This was because Stephen Curry and Kevin Durant combined for a season-high 74 points, which was fitting because Curry's mother was in attendance, Sonia, summing to 74 in ordinal. Better yet, that game came 314 days after Kevin Durant joined the Warriors on the prior July 4th, and here we are talking about a tribute to the woman who gave birth to Stephen Curry on Pi Day, or March 14th, or 3/14/1988. 3.14 is pi. As I pointed out that day, LeBron James had won on Mother's Day the year prior before winning the finals, and now the year following, Stephen Curry had done the same thing. I should also point out the Mother's Day game featured a 25-point comeback where pi, P-I, sums to 25 in ordinal gematria. Kevin sums to 25 in reduction, and Sonia equates to 25 in reverse reduction. Better yet, that game came 98 days after the New England Patriots made their 25th point comeback in the Super Bowl. For a little gematria practice, the values are as follows. Consider that pi, pi, also shares gematria of 16, and this NBA playoffs and finals was a closeout of the 2016-17 NBA season. So, the name Kevin equates to 25 in reduction. Okay, Sonia equates to 25 reverse reduction. Pi equates to 25 in ordinal. Ohio equates to 16 reverse reduction. And pi equates to 16 in reduction. Mathematical. Speaking of Pi Day, I should point out that Curry had turned 29 years old on March 14th, 2017. And as I predicted he would, he scored 29 points for his 29th birthday, doing so over the Philadelphia 76ers, the team from the city that was the original home of the Warriors. In that game, the Warriors won with 106 points in Philadelphia. Also noteworthy, just days earlier, the Warriors had beaten Philadelphia on February 27 or 2-7 with a score of 119-108, thus a sum of 227 points. As you learned earlier, when you write 22, when you write out these words, 22 divided by 7, it sums to 314, 3.14 pi. It sums to 314 in ordinal, and when you write 360, it sums to 227 in the same cipher. Even more recently, in the Warriors and 76ers 314th game all time in the regular season, which was played on November 11th or 11/11, the Warriors won with an appropriate 135 points. Wow. As we have discussed, that can be considered the Philadelphia number. At the same time, pi has reverse reduction gematria of 11. And that's crazy. And that's in the reverse reduction cipher. So, how appropriate for them to play their 314th game against each other on such a date. To expose another ritual pertaining to the 2017 NBA Finals, the first three games finished with a score of 113-91 in favor of the Warriors, 132-113 in favor of the Warriors, and 118-113 in favor of the Warriors. In Game 4, the Cavs won 137-116, only after the Warriors hit a late three-pointer in the closing seconds, teasing the fans of having 4 straight games begin with a losing score of 113 points. As we have discussed, to start the chapter, the National Basketball Association sums to 113 in reduction gematria, and that is what was being trademarked with these tributes, as well as the dishonesty of the games and league. Consider the symbolic Mother's Day game also finished with 113 points, but in that case, it was the winning score for the Warriors. Man. Also fascinating is how these finals aligned with LeBron's career ever so perfectly. They began on June 1st, the day leaving 213 days left in the year, and once again, finals sums to 61 in ordinal like 6-1, and the NBA finals sums to 213 in reverse ordinal, where game 1 was LeBron's 213th playoff game of his career. As we discussed in the chapter on the contrived race war the day before the finals began, the big story was someone had spray painted the N word on LeBron's house in the 213 area code, Los Angeles. Of course, this was a contrived narrative, and the sports media even discussed how it might take a toll on LeBron's psychology, hampering his finals performance. And for one last point, from the Martin Luther King Jr. Day blowout to the Warriors closing out the NBA Finals in Game 5 was a distance of 147 days. As you know, the number 147 connects to Freemason and conspiracy. At the same time, the number 94 has ordinal gematria of 147, and an NBA court is 94 feet long by 50 feet wide, which means the area of the court is 4,700 square feet, 47, which also reminds that the Warriors defeated the Cavs in their 47th NBA season. Following the pattern, when you write out 47th, it sums to 147 in reverse ordinal, making it only fitting that the Cavaliers were closed out 147 days after being blown out in their 47th season. And speaking of which, don't overlook that Kevin Durant was a big part of that blowout. The man who joined the Warriors on July 4th, which can be written as 4-7. Oh my word, this stuff is just crazy. Let us now drop basketball and pick up baseball, as Michael Jordan once did. If you follow Major League Baseball, you know the regular season lasts 162 games. This is fascinating because baseball sums to 162 in reverse ordinal, whereas Major League Baseball sums to 162 in ordinal. At the same time, Major League Baseball, the acronym, MLB, the acronym equates to 162 in Sumerian gematria. Further, the word baseball has ordinal gematria of 54 and reverse reduction gematria of 54 as well. This is fascinating because a full 9-inning baseball game requires 54 outs to be made. Even more, the word baseball sums to 18 in reduction gematria and equates to 27 when S is counted for 10. Consider a full game requires 18 half innings and 27 outs per team. For a few more riddles, Major League Baseball sums to 351 in reverse ordinal gematria, which is the 26th triangular number. Consider the word game has ordinal gematria of 26, and ball game has a reduction value of 26. At the same time, the most winning baseball team in Major League history, the Yankees, have a name equating to 26 in reduction, as does their legendary player, where Babe sums to 26 in reverse reduction, as in Babe Ruth. I'll also remind you that in recent history, November 7, 2017, it was reported that two-time Cy Young winner Roy Halladay had died in a plane crash off the coast of Holiday, Florida. This is interesting because November 7th leaves 54 days left in the year, and Major League Baseball has reverse reduction gematria of 117, not unlike 11-7 or November 7. Dang. Another recent baseball riddle connecting to death came on June 3rd, 2017, a date that can be expressed as 6-3, similar to 63, where Major League Baseball equates to 63 in reduction. On that date, the first no-hitter of the MLB season was thrown by the Miami Marlins, coming 36 weeks after the death of the Miami Marlins pitcher Jose Fernandez, who reportedly died in a boating accident September 25th, the day leaving 97 days left in the year. Death equates to 97 in reverse ordinal. Consider June 3rd can be expressed as 3/6, and Miami has reverse reduction gematria of 36. Further, the pitcher who earned the no-hitter was Edinson Volquez, Edinson Volquez. I'm going to say Edinson Volquez, and his name sums to 63 in reverse reduction. This is crazy. For another MLB connection, he achieved the no-hitter against the Arizona Diamondbacks, summing to 117 in reverse reduction, just like Major League Baseball. Also noteworthy is that Edinson Volquez he was 33 years old at the time. The number connecting to diamond in reduction gematria, which is the shape of the baseball infield. Okay, the headline here says 7 players hit grand slams in one day. Okay, let's see what this is. On the same date as the no-hitter, June 3rd, 2017, an MLB record would be set for the most grand slams in a single day with 7. Consider that June 3rd is the 154th day of the year, and grand slam has reversed ordinal gematria of 154. Also, once upon a time, the MLB had a 154 game schedule, which was a tribute to Abner Doubleday, the Freemason credited with developing the sport that is commonly known as America's pastime. Not by coincidence, the name Doubleday has reversed ordinal gematria of 154, just like King James, the Freemason king, who was a part of the history of the establishment of the United States of America, as we covered in earlier chapters. Oh boy, I tell you. For more proof that professional sports have always been rigged, let us go back in time to when Roger Maris set the home run record, hitting 61 in the year 61. We'll begin with the fact that the number 61 is the 18th prime, and baseball has reduction gematria of 18 as covered. Further, when he hit the 61st home run, it was off the pitcher Evan Tracy Stollard, Stallard. Evan Tracy Stollard, a name summing to 61 in reduction gematria. Even better, Stollard wore the number 39, where 39, when written as words, has reduction gematria of 61, and the catcher he was tossing to was wearing the number 22. Of course, 39 plus 22 equates to 61. So, this is crazy. Evan, E-V-A-N, Tracy, T-R-A-C-Y, Stollard, S-T-A-L-L-A-R-D. Evan Tracy Stollard equates to 61 in reduction. 39 written as words equates to 61 in reduction as well. Okay. I should also note that Maris sums to 39 in reverse reduction, and the name Roger Maris equates to 60 in reduction. Fitting then that he would break the record of 60 home runs set by Babe Ruth in 1927. Oh, God. This is crazy. So, let's keep going here. And speaking of which, he accomplished the feat on October 1st, 1961, a date that can be expressed as 10-1, like 101. One more time, 101 is the 26th prime, and Babe as well as Yankees share gematria of 26, the Yankees being the team Babe Ruth set the record with, and the team Maris broke the record with. Keep it in the family. All right. Speaking of Yankees beating Yankee and Babe Ruth records, Aaron Judge did just that September 30th, 2017, hitting his 33rd home run at home for the 2017 season. Prior to that, Babe Ruth owned the record of 32 ding-dongs at home in a single season, which was a 96-year standing record before. Aaron Judge, summing to 96 in Ordinal, broke it. I tell you, you bastards. Making the riddle all the more clear, when Judge broke the record, it was on the day of Yom Kippur, which is the Jewish day of judgment for one's sins. Think about Aaron Judge and judgment. As for him hitting number 33, don't forget that New York has reverse reduction gematria of 33. Oh my word, you people. Sticking with the scripted baseball in the city of New York, I want to rewind to the 111th World Series. I have to tell you, I was laughed at when I predicted in spring training that the New York Mets would be in the 111th iteration of the championship event that concludes every MLB season, but those laughs were cut short when the Mets made it. A big part of the reason I knew they would be there was because New York sums to 111 in ordinal gematria. It was also for this reason that the 111th World Series concluded on November 1st or 111, 11-1. To remind you how that World Series ended, it was Eric Hosmer of the Kansas City Royals stepping to the plate in the top of the ninth with a .111 batting average for the series. In that at-bat, he would hit a double into the gap, scoring the runner from first base on Matt Harvey's 111th pitch of the game. After that, Harvey would be pulled, and the Mets relievers would end up giving up the winning hits and runs, concluding the World Series 4-1 on the most appropriate date. Once again, it was another shining example of how the games were rigged by the numbers, from the final score to the box score. Speaking of which, the final score ended up being 2-7, right for the MLB, summing to 27 in ordinal. And likely a shout out to the New York Yankees, who lead all of baseball with 27 championships, sort of like how the Celtics led the NBA with 17 championships. And for another tribute to New York, the Mets only won a single game in the series, winning 3-9, much like 39, the New York number. As I pointed out, hours before the game was played that same day, the media had been making a big deal about how in the 1986 World Series featuring the Mets, a man had parachuted into the field of play. Of course, the word parachute equates to 39 in reduction gematria, and this was the media's way of signaling what the outcome of the game would be before it was even played. Oh my lord. For one last note on the 111th World Series, I'll never forget what Joe Buck did while Matt Harvey was on the mound. In Game 1, there was a delay because reportedly the power went out in the Fox truck that was providing the broadcast to the nation. The grid going down. When the delay ended, Joe Buck explained, "Truck went out." His co-host said, "What?" And Joe Buck repeated, truck went out. Truck went out. I had to check right away. And sure enough, truck went out equated to 47 in reduction gematria, just like how the delay came after the 47th pitch. In light of the number 33, Matt Harvey being on the mound, it reminded that Super Bowl 47 had a 33-minute delay due to a power outage, according to numerous sources. And on the subject of the numbers 33 and 47, we know what organization those numbers point to. I should also add that Matt Harvey made his debut for the Mets that season, April 14th, 2015, a date with numerology of 33. 4 plus 4 plus 15 equates to 33, which was played at Citibank Field, a name, Citibank, summing to 33 in reduction, similar to how the old field, Shea, S-H-E-A, summed to 33 in ordinal, and tying right in with the gematria of New York. Wow. Moving on to the 112th World Series, I made a bolder prediction than the year before. I guaranteed the Chicago Cubs would end the curse, breaking the streak of no World Series wins at 108 years. Wow. They would be breaking the streak of no World Series wins at 108 years. To me, this seemed like an easy read because Major League has ordinal gematria of 108, corresponding with 108 double stitches on a baseball, and the fact that the word baseball sums to 108 in Frank Bacona's cipher. What I also pointed out then was the tallest building in Chicago was 108 stories tall, formerly the Sears Tower, but in more recent years has been renamed to the Willis Tower, summing to 57 in reduction, just like World Series. Speaking of which, I should note that Dave Henderson, who played against the Mets in the World Series in 1986, died a span of 57 days after the World Series concluded. And I'm going to show you these guys with the GOAT here before I read about it. Okay. Alrighty. So, back on the subject of the Cubbies. If you weren't aware, the Cubs were under what was known as the curse of the Billy Goat, which was cast on them in their last World Series appearance in 1945 against the Detroit Tigers. The image shown is from 1945, and as you can see, the cloth on the goat reads, "We got Detroit's goat." Not by coincidence, both Curse of the Billy Goat and We Got Detroit's Goat have ordinal gematria of 223, the number symbolizing Masonic and the Synagogue of Satan, which are the entities that control the world of rigged and scripted professional sports. I bring this up because in the 112th World Series, which the Cubs won, only one position player had facial hair, and that was Kyle Schwarber, Schwarber, who was sporting a goatee, a style of facial hair that is named after a goat's chin hair. Better yet, his full name, Kyle Joseph Schwarber, equates to 223 in ordinal gematria, making the possibility of coincidence impossible. And if you think that is bad, just wait until we get to the 113th World Series, which had a record amount of massive beards, a word having reverse ordinal gematria of 113. Beards, 113. Okay. As for it being the Cubs' first World Series since since 45, let's establish the significance of that number, which we know connects to geometry. Further, Cubs have ordinal gematria of 45. Wrigley, where the Cubs play, has reduction gematria of 45, same as Illinois and same as Major League. Thus, it made sense for them to end the curse in the 112th World Series, where mathematics has ordinal gematria of 112. And as I explained before the World Series began, look for the 112th to end on November 2nd or 11/2, just as the 111th World Series ended on 11/1. Sure enough, that came true too. After the Cubs rallied from down 3-1 against the Cleveland Indians, balancing the fact that the Cleveland Cavaliers had won the NBA championships months earlier after coming back from down 3-1. Need I remind you about the parallels between the Indians and the Cavs season, with them facing the same cities at the same time en route to their respective championships? Oh, this is crazy. What clued me into the November 2nd finish for the 112th series in a big way. Let me reread that. Sorry about that. What clued me into the November 2nd finish with the 112th series in a big way was what transpired September 16, 2016. In that game, the Chicago Cubs defeated the Milwaukee Brewers 4-5 with a walk-off home run by number 47, exactly 47 days before November 2nd. Better yet, the player who hit the homer was Miguel Montero, summing to 167 in the ordinal gematria, and the game-winning hit came on the 167th day of the MLB season, which began April 3rd, 2016. Consider 167 is the 39th prime number, and the start of the World Series was 39 days later, October 25th, 2016, which once again was a date with numerology of 71 and would end up being the date the Cubs were in the World Series for the first time in 71 years. My goodness. Another milestone in the season for the Cubs was when their star pitcher Jake Arrieta, summing to 45 in reduction, threw the first no-hitter of the season. Fittingly, this accomplishment came on April 21st, 2016, the 112th day of the year, since 2016 was a leap year. Also, it came 46 days after his 30th birthday, which was March 6, 2016. That matters because Chicago sums to 46 in ordinal, Chicago Cubs sums to 46 in reduction, and no-hitter equates to 46 in reduction as well. You'll notice in the picture shown, it is a video that is 46 seconds in length, which was courtesy of ESPN.com, and I will show you the picture of that. These people, they ain't no earthly good. But see, it was 46 seconds long. These assholes. Okay. Please know that every single night, ESPN makes videos that are cut to length, which correspond perfectly with what the story is about. If you doubt that, you're more than welcome to prove it to yourself or try to disprove it, which I already know you cannot. I should also note that the name Arrieta equates to 54 in reverse reduction, just the same as baseball. He would also make a big splash in the divisional round of the playoffs later that same season, October 10th, 2016, hitting a 3-run home run, a rare feat for a pitcher. Consider that homer game came 147 days before his 31st birthday. Consider that homer game came 147 days before his 31st birthday, where a home run has ordinal gematria of 94, and 94, written as words, has ordinal gematria of 147, just the same as World Series. You'll notice in the video provided by ESPN through USA Today, the clip was 57 seconds long, the number connecting to World Series in reduction gematria, and this home run was part of the formula that got the Cubs to the big dance. On the subject of 94, I should note that Vegas gave the Cubs 9-4 odds to win the World Series at the start of the MLB playoffs, which was no doubt another tell. So, let's see if you can see. I'm going to make that bigger so you can see that that picture, that video was for 57 seconds. Okay. Okay, on the subject of 46, I want to point out that it was reported Kyle Schwarber, the man who symbolized the Billy Goat, was out for the season on April 9th, 2016 with a torn ACL. April 9th is typically the 99th day of the year, and Illinois sum to 99 in ordinal. Okay, of course, that ended up not being true because he returned just in time for Game 1 of the World Series, October 25th, 2016, which was 199 days after April 9th, and where 199 is the 46th prime number. If you are familiar with ACL tears, in which I am, I've torn my ACL and meniscus, oh my God. Still have a problem with my material. I have a knee replacement, as a matter of fact. If you are familiar with ACL tears, they usually take at least a year to recover from. So 199 days was a very rapid healing process. And adding insult to injury is the fact that Kyle Schwarber, in his first game back, was running as well as he ever had in his life. And in the case of Schwarber, if you're not familiar with the man, he is a husky, verging on the cusp of being overweight individual. An overweight individual, much like the great Bambino, the Sultan of SWAT, George Herman Ruth, aka Babe Ruth. For some gematria practice, be sure to decode the names of the babe. As for Schwarber, I should also note that his return came 131 days before his 24th birthday, where the number 131 connects to championship and where he would be a big piece of the Cubs' winning formula, having some very key at-bats in the World Series. As for the Cubs defeating the Indians in the 112th World Series and breaking the 108-year curse, there are a few things that are interesting. First, consider the city of Cleveland had just broken their sports curse earlier in the year, with the Cavs winning. Second, again, a baseball has 108 double stitches. Okay, so I misread that, but it says second. Again, a baseball has 108 double stitches, which means it has 216 total stitches, and Cleveland is the home of the 216 area code. Third, the film Major League about the Cleveland Indians had released April 7, 1989, a little more than 27 years earlier, which seemed indicative of the fact that the Indians might go to the big dance 27 years later. This was especially due to the fact that the main character, played by Charlie Sheen, wears the number 99 in the film, where Illinois has ordinal gematria of 99. And fourth, the Indians were last in the 1997 World Series against the Florida Marlins, the team that spoiled the Cubs' World Series bid after the Steve Bartman incident, a title summing to 322 in reverse ordinal gematria, which is the reflection of 223, connecting to the curse of the Billy Goat as mentioned. And I'll remind you, Steve Bartman was in seat 113 and drone technology is being used in professional sports to ensure outcomes and to guide balls. Technology is the missing link for many people who struggle to understand how sports can be scripted to the point, as I have learned while doing this research. Let us now advance to the 113th World Series, which was foretold by Sports Illustrated June 25th, 2014, when their magazine was released that had a cover date of June 30th, 2014. It is typical for magazines to be released 5 days before the cover date. So I will show you the cover so you can get a look at that really quickly. Okay. What's funny about them having predicted the Astros to win the 113th World Series on the date of June 25th, years in advance, is that it would have been George Orwell's 111th birthday, and the Astros ended up winning the World Series on November 1st, or 11-1. over the Dodgers, the team originally from New York. Consider, George Orwell is remembered for writing in 1984 films, football, beer, and above all, gambling filled up the horizon of their minds. Okay, now he wrote the book is called 1984. So he meant he wrote in his book 1984. Films, football, beer, and above all gambling filled up the horizon of their minds. To keep them in control was not difficult. Okay, those remarks were made regarding the common people who he called proles, P-R-O-L-E-S, and how easy it was for their tyrant government to keep them in check. Of course, baseball isn't football, but it is a sport, and that's the point. Following the script and the tributes to Orwell, the man shown on the cover, number 4, George Springer, sharing the first name with George Orwell in Game 4 en route to winning the World Series, would end the Dodgers pitcher's no-hitter on the 84th pitch with a solo home run. That pitcher was number 57, Alex Wood, a surname summing to 57 in ordinal gematria. Once again, George Orwell authored the book 1984. Consider further the divisors of the number 44, sum to 84, and here we are discussing number 4 in Game 4, hitting this symbolic home run shot. Even further, the World Series would conclude November 1st, his 44th day of being 28 years old, having a September 9th, 1989 birthday. And not by surprise, George Springer would also go on to become the MVP of the 2017 World Series, hitting a record-tying 5 home runs in the series in doing so, which was all foretold through the Sports Illustrated cover years earlier. Speaking of which, I should note that Sports Illustrated sums to 112 in reverse reduction, whereas Houston sums to 112 in ordinal gematria. Better yet, the name George has ordinal gematria of 57, just like Wood, similar to how World Series equates to 57 in reduction, same as Scottish Rite. If you're not aware, George Orwell was a member of the Fabian Society, established in 1884, which was a Masonic order, thus why Fabian has an ordinal gematria, ordinal value of 33. Fabian has an ordinal value of 33. Personally, I guaranteed the Houston Astros would win the World Series on September 2nd, 2017, when Matt Harvey became the first pitcher to pitch in Houston in the wake of the flooding from Hurricane Harvey. As I noted that day, it was 52 days to the start of the World Series, October 24th. 2017, and the word flood has ordinal gematria of 52, whereas Houston, Texas has septenary gematria of 52. As a reminder, Houston began to flood August 27th, 2017, the 239th day of the year, which is the 52nd prime number, and which was also a date with numerology of 52 in 2017. So you would add 8 plus 27 plus 17, that equates to 52. It was also the same day Fox News ran a story about a woman from Houston whose house avoided the flooding, and she said because of her luck, she felt like she had won the World Series. A very bizarre thing to say unless you're in the know, recognizing how the media and sports are scripted together, mocking the masses. And in case somehow you missed my chapter on weather warfare, it has been admitted since 1952 that world militaries know how to induce flash flooding through scientific technology. Even prior to that, George Orwell had written that weather warfare was the weapon of the future, tying in with the fact that this World Series had been predicted in tribute to him through Sports Illustrated. Think about just how sinister it all is. Also noteworthy about the game against the Mets, the first in Houston after flash flooding, which is a term summing to 128 in ordinal gematria, is that the Houston Astros won the game 12-8. Even more, it was the Astros' 134th game of the season, and flooding has reverse ordinal gematria of 134. Further, the name New York Mets has reverse reduction gematria of 57, similar to how World Series has reduction gematria of 57. In other words, it was a perfect ritual, foreshadowing things to come, which made it all more fitting that the Astros picked up their 81st win of the season, the number corresponding with the ordinal and reverse ordinal gematria of ritual, and being the reflection of 18, the number connecting to baseball in reduction. And for a related fast fact, the Hebrew word for chai for chai, meaning life, or maybe kai, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but the Hebrew word chai, meaning life, has a Hebrew gematria value of 18. This is the reason adulthood, where we can actually start living, begins at age 18 in our U.S. legal system, which has much to do with this code. This is also the reason Jewish people give those celebrating their bar mitzvah gifts of money in multiples of 18. Wow. Getting back on this subject, you might recall that right after Houston flooded, Los Angeles burned. As soon as that happened, I said, it is your 113th World Series, Astros over the Dodgers. And just remember, water puts out fires. Fittingly, the World Series rolled around. Game 1 was in Los Angeles, and that game featured a record temperature for a World Series, which was 103 degrees Fahrenheit. As you know, the number 103 is the 27th prime, making it right for an MLB and baseball record. Further, the number 103 looks a bit like 13, and as we have covered, LA has ordinal gematria of 13. Fittingly, Game 1 of the World Series would end with a score of 1-3 in favor of Los Angeles. Another tale for the 113th World Series was the pitcher Justin Verlander, who was announced being traded from the Detroit Tigers to the Houston Astros September 1st, 2017, a date with numerology of 27 and 47. At the time of the trade, there was a story about how he was nearly shipped to Los Angeles, which was a definite sign of things to come. And consider his name, Justin Verlander, equates to 213 in reverse ordinal gematria, not unlike the 213 area code of the city he would go on to defeat. Better yet, when the Astros closed out the Dodgers on November 1st, it was 111 days to Verlander's upcoming 35th birthday. Wow. February 20th, 2018, or a span of 112 days, where Houston has ordinal gematria of 112. At the same time, February 20th is the 51st day of the year, and Houston Astros equates to 51 in reduction gematria. And as for it being his 35th birthday upcoming, flooding has reverse reduction gematria of 35, and that is the number Justin Verlander wears, thus being extremely symbolic to the contrived narrative. Moving on to Game 2, which Verlander pitched in, was on a date with numerology of 52, the flood number, and as I told my followers, look for the Astros to take that one. It was all but certain. Okay, sure enough, they did, 6-7, where water has ordinal gematria of 67. From there, the series would be a back and forth battle with tributes to the numbers all throughout. In addition to 52, another number that showed up time and time again was 13, with the Astros winning Game 5 with 13 runs, and the Dodgers winning Game 6 the same way they did Game 1 with a score of 1-3. Thanks to a big at bat for number 31 of the Dodgers, the reflection of 13, and where Houston has reduction gematria of 31. In the end, however, it would be the Astros taking the cake in Game 7, winning 5-1, a bit like 51, corresponding with the reduction gematria of Houston Astros, summing to 51, just the same as conspiracy, which it absolutely was. In that Game 7, it would conclude with the Astros reliever Charlie Morton's 52nd pitch, and not by chance. If you want to have a bit of fun, I challenge you to go back and look at the box scores and stats of the entire playoffs for the 2017 MLB season. If you do, you'll see how often the number 52 came up again and again from scores of 5-2 to CC Sabathia, Sabathia, CC Sabathia, number 52, giving up home runs on his 52nd pitch and beyond. And yes, the 52 rituals went beyond just the games the Houston Astros were involved in. In addition to the number 52, consider it was the Houston Astros' 56th MLB season, because Hurricane has reduction gematria of 52 and reverse reduction gematria of 56. And for being the city to suffer through a hurricane and the worst flooding of a major city in modern times, their reward was a scripted World Series. Do you feel better now, Houston? Just imagine what George Orwell would say. At the same time, Game 7 finished with 5 hits for the Astros and 6 for the Dodgers, for another 56 in the box score. Okay, it just says at the same time, the Game 7 finished with 5 hits for the Astros and 6 for the Dodgers, for another 56 in the box score. Wow. Now, here's a headline from Vice Sports. Wacko YouTuber proves World Series was rigged. Proves. Okay. In light of the subject of 52, I should also point out that Vice Sports took a crack at me on November 20th, 2017, making fun of my work on the World Series and what I had pointed out about the number 52. If you take the time to examine that article, you should get a few laughs. And if you use your decoding skills, you'll notice Vice Sports chose an author, Sean Newell, Newell, okay? Summing to 52 in reverse reduction, and certainly not by coincidence. Even further, Vice Sports sums to 47 in reduction gematria, which reminds of how USA Today mocked me and paid tribute to The Simpsons and the song We Do. Alright, to the left is some of Sean Newell's reporting on what he had to say about my work exposing the World Series long before it transpired. What his article failed to mention is how I had done it 3 years in a row and was 3 for 3 in calling out at least one team that would be in the World Series from spring training on. Not too bad of a record by anyone's standards. He also failed to mention the numerous other correct predictions I had made in the world of sports, rigged elections, and celebrity deaths, which are important feats, not because they're correct predictions, but because they prove how we the people are being lied to in this world on numerous fronts. Because I can now put my words in print and respond to what was written about me, I want to examine one statement Sean Newell made just to back up what I stated in the video he was commenting on, and that is that people who try to mock my work, followers, and myself are dumb, ignorant motherfuckers. Okay, I gotta go back so I can get the gist of this, Zach. I do not want to mess this up. Okay. Oh my goodness. Because I can now put words in print and respond to what was written about me, I want to examine one more statement Sean Newell made just to back up what I stated in the video he was commenting on. And that is that people who try to mock my work, my followers, and myself are dumb, ignorant motherfuckers. If you don't follow me on YouTube, I can sometimes have a major potty mouth speaking with much force. As you can see, when he quoted me, he was making fun of my work and the Yankees letting their former player and coach go, Joe Girardi. And I will go back and read what Sean Newell wrote, okay? So, the first one, it says, okay, Simpsons and the song We Do. What you are watching above is 8 minutes and 33 seconds of a commentary that intends to prove that the World Series in all sports really was rigged. It involves Matt Harvey, Hurricane Harvey, Sports Illustrated, gematria, an alphanumeric cipher that assigns a numeric value to words and phrases, and Charlie Morton's pitch count. The video comes courtesy of a guy named Zachry Hubbard, and he is convinced that everything is rigged, and he is absolutely right, Sean Newell. News, politics, the weather, sports, everything. Getting down to the brass tracks, Hubbard posits that the Astros World Series victory was foretold by Matt Harvey's start in Houston, which just so happened to be the first start after the Houston area was devastated by Hurricane Harvey. That start, coincidentally, see, ain't no coincidences. That start, coincidentally, was 52 days before the start of the World Series. Hold on to your butts, because we've only just scratched the surface. Again, this is a perfect example of how all of the world of professional sports is scripted by a numerological code, and people, it really is. The things we do in our everyday life on our own, yes, there's an organic to this life, but what we're being presented with, all this BS, it is done by this alphanumeric code, and people like Sean Newell are paid to write this crap to make it look like it's foolish and stupid. It's just BS. Okay, what is true of Joe Girardi's firing today is true of every single thing that happens in the world of professional sports. Girardi, Hubbard tells us, was fired on October 26th, which is the 299th day of the year, leaving just 66 days left in the year. We all know where this is going. Using gematria and whatever else he can find to get something to 66. See? Nope. These ciphers work perfectly. Whatever you type, whatever these letters are in whatever cipher, is not going to be anything but that. This is just crazy, boy, I tell you. Oh, man. So he says, so you can get the value of 66 using the alphabetic order. And Joe Girardi also gets a 66. I'm sorry, I'm messing up here somewhere. Using gematria and whatever else he can find to get something to 66. Hubbard says that Girardi gets a value of 66 using the alphabetic order, and Joe Girardi also gets a 66 with the reduction method, which sounds totally above board. There is also a fairly sizable detour in this video where we learn that the Jews died did 9/11, that they did 9/11, and people who make fun of him are dumb, ignorant motherfuckers. Absolutely. I agree with you, Zach. They are some dumb, ignorant motherfuckers. As you can see, when he quoted me, he was making fun of my work on the Yankees and letting their former player and coach go, Joe Girardi. I've since tried to contact Sean Newell, but have never heard a response back. What I wanted him to write a follow-up article about was how on December 4th, 2017, 39 days after Girardi was let go, the New York Yankees hired a new manager, also a former player, Aaron Boone, who happened to have a March 9th or 3/9 birthday. Of course, his hiring came after I had been mocked for making the video calling attention to the significance of 66 and 39, the numbers connecting to the ordinal and reduction gematria of empire, as in New York, the Empire State. I pointed out in my message, left for Sean Newell, that the new manager, Aaron John Boone, equates to 66 in reduction gematria, where again Girardi was let go on October 26th, the day leaving 66 days in the year, And further, Joe Ghirardi sums to 66 in reverse reduction, whereas Ghirardi sums to 66 in ordinal. I also asked Sean Newell if he could feature my work on the hiring and firing of coaches by the numbers from college to pros, which is always the case when a coach is hired, fired, or resigns. Okay. For you New York fans, go back to the firing of Derek Fisher on the 39th day of the year, February 8, 2016. That was just one of many. Now to get back on a more important topic than my critics, as discussed in the chapter on weather warfare. In addition to Major League Baseball participating in rituals for the flooding of Texas, professional boxing did much the same, using the August 26, 2016 match between Floyd, Make It Rain Money Mayweather, and McGregor and Conor McGregor for its symbolism, a fight that was taking place as the rains were pouring down on Houston and surrounding areas and not by coincidence. And Floyd's name, Mayweather, he made emphasis on weather in his name. Okay. Helping point out the ritual was TMZ, who was sure to report that Steve Harvey had the best seat in the house out of all the celebrities. Again, it was Hurricane and Tropical Storm Harvey that was causing the floodwaters in Houston. To make the point about just how perfect 40-year-old Floyd Mayweather, the man who makes it rain, was for this very devious ritual, which was manufactured flooding of Houston and coastal areas of Texas, we'll let the gematria do the speaking. As we decode, keep in mind that in Hebrew reduction gematria, flood sums to 26, and in Hebrew ordinal gematria, flood sums to 62. Don't forget that the mayor of Houston, Sylvester Turner, born on the Jesuit order's birthday, September 27, 1954, was 62 years old at the time and was also the 62nd mayor of Houston, where Houston, Texas has reverse reduction gematria of 62. In addition to the other points made about him in the prior chapter on weather warfare. Also pertinent, the flooding came 26 weeks and 2 days after Floyd Mayweather's birthday, February 24, 2017, which is 4, and you can add 2 plus 24 equates to 26. So, the name Floyd equates to 62 in ordinal. The name Floyd equates to 26 in reduction. Mayweather equates to 52 reverse reduction. Flood equates to 52 in ordinal. Hurricane equates to 52 in reduction. Houston, Texas equates to 52 in the septenary cipher. Mayweather equates to 119 in ordinal. 40 days and 40 nights equates to 40 days and 40 nights, equate to 119 reverse reduction. Noah equates to 119 English extended. Floyd Mayweather was 40 years old at the time. The flood equals 40 in reduction. Houston equals 40 in reduction as counted as 10. Floyd Mayweather equates to 181 in ordinal, the 42nd prime number. Nigga. Oh my God. Excuse me. Anyway, Houston, Texas equates to 181 in ordinal. 181, the 42nd prime. The word rain equates to 42 in ordinal. Make it rain. Mayweather. Mayweather equates to 35 in reduction. Boxing equates to 35 in reduction. Again, his name is Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather equals 71, reverse reduction. Boxing equals 71 in ordinal. The date 8/26/2016. You add 8 plus 26 plus 20 plus 16 equals 71. I should also note that Floyd Mayweather's other nickname is Pretty Boy. As we decode, let us not forget that the film about the boxer Reuben Carter the Hurricane is 146 minutes in length, or that Carter has reverse ordinal gematria of 97. So, Pretty Boy equates to 146 in ordinal. Hurricane equates to 146 in reverse ordinal. Pretty Boy equates to 97 in reverse ordinal, and Hurricane equates to 97 in ordinal as well. Also significant is that the boxing match between Mayweather and McGregor was in T-Mobile Arena, summing to 52 in reduction gematria. Better yet, T-Mobile Arena sums to 227 in Frank Bacona, similar to how Flood and Earth equate to the same value in satanic gematria. In light of 227 being the 49th prime, and NFL and Super Bowl sharing gematria of 49, I want to remind you that Super Bowl 51 in Houston was hosted February 5th, a date that can be written 2-5 or 5-2, much like 25 and 52, the numbers corresponding with the reduction and ordinal gematria of Flood, respectively. As we discussed in chapter 19, that Super Bowl was played 29 weeks before the flooding of Houston, where Harvey and football share gematria of 29. To wrap this chapter up, Truth Seeker, I must let you know there truly is a million other things I would like to share with you, but I know in time that by you applying the knowledge, you will uncover those many things I could share now. Just to get a few off my brain, some of those thoughts include how Chris Paul's grandfather was murdered the same day he signed with Wake Forest while just a high school basketball star in North Carolina. You might recall his grandfather was 61 years old, and because of his death, Chris Paul scored 61 points in his next basketball performance. What ESPN didn't tell you in their coverage of that story is that the word grandpa has ordinal gematria of 61. At the same time, I'm thinking about many examples of the purposeful mocking in rigged draft picks in all sports. Standing at the top of the list was the Denver Broncos drafting tight end Jake Butt out of Michigan in 2017, days after the Michigan's head coach Jim Harbaugh met with Pope Francis at the Vatican. Just think about that for a minute. The tight end Jake Butt, in light of the relationship with the Catholic Church, adding insult to injury. Jake Butt fell deep in the draft, being taken number 145 overall, where Catholic sums to 145 in reverse ordinal. Another one from recent memory is Eli Apple, Eliapple, being drafted to the Big Apple, New York, with the number 10 pick, pairing up with number 10, Eli Manning and Company. For a bit more NFL-related comedy, there were two lone NFL player transactions on Valentine's Day 2018. They were Taylor Hart to the Eagles and Bobby Hart to the Bengals. Oh my goodness. Speaking of Valentines, I can't help but think of the basketball star Denzel Valentine, who wore the number 45 at Michigan State and now wears the number 45 for the Chicago Bulls. bulls in Illinois, the state summing to 45 in reduction and reminding that Valentine's Day is the 45th day of the year. Valentine's Day equals 45 in the septenary cipher. Further, you might recall that on March 18, 2016, his Michigan State Spartans suffered what is remembered as the biggest upset in the history of the NCAA men's basketball tournament, being upset by Middle State, Tennessee. Not coincidentally, that came 33 days after Valentine's Day, and Tennessee has reversed ordinal gematria of 137, the 33rd prime. And following the thought, it makes one wonder if it is a coincidence that Oregon, the 33rd state, established on Valentine's Day, February 14, 1859, won the first ever men's college basketball tournament in 1939. Back when Oregon was known as the Webfoots, a name summing to 39 in reverse reduction gematria, similar to how Valentine sums to 39 in reduction. Man, at the same time, Webfoots equates to 33 in reduction. And they beat Ohio State, who went down with 33 points. Altogether, it just goes to show, my friend, it's always been this way for the entire history of collegiate and professional sports, and even sometimes high school. So let me go back up here. I want to read this headline. It says, it was about Middle Tennessee State's win over Michigan State is the biggest upset in NCAA tournament history. And Oregon won with 46. Ohio State had 33. Okay. Stoneman Douglas alum, Flyers Shane Gostisbehere. I can't even pronounce that. I'm going to spell it. So the name is Shane, Shayne, last name Gostisbehere. Gots to be here, I guess. Flyers Shane Gots to be here. Invite hockey team to NHL game. Okay. So here we go. Let me see. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas hockey team gets Stanley Cup surprise. So I'm going to continue reading. On the subject of high school, don't forget what was revealed about the parallels between the Eagles winning Super Bowl 52, the Chicago Cubs winning the 112th World Series, and the shooting on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2018, at Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. In addition to those events being scripted together, there was the Stoneman Douglas hockey team winning district tournament. Okay, let me read that. In addition to those events being scripted together, there was the Stoneman Douglas hockey team winning district tournament as underdogs over Jesuit. Then right after that, there were national headlines about Stoneman Douglas alumni Shane Gostisbehere of the Philadelphia Flyers inviting the school's hockey team to attend one of his games. Better yet, they even got to hoist the Stanley Cup, I suppose, as some sort of feel-good story. It's crazy. Stoneman Douglas wins hockey championship with 7-4 win over Jesuit. No, this is sick. Okay, and for one last headline on the event of Stoneman Douglas beating Jesuit in hockey, we'll let the numbers do the talking. As you examine, don't forget the shooting at Stoneman Douglas was connected to Super Bowl 52, which concluded with a score of 41-33. A sum of 74 points. And more importantly, don't forget they beat Jesuit, named after the Society of Jesus. Oh boy. So hockey equates to 67 in ordinal. Nicholas Cruz equates to 67 in reverse reduction. Bloody Valentine equates to reverse reduction. 67 in reverse reduction. Wow. Okay. And that was the end of chapter 21 the sports chapter, and it was entitled Undeniably Rigged Collegiate and Professional Sports. And this will be the last on that one, and the next chapter will be chapter 22, the organic side of letters and numbers and numerology. But in the meantime, I hope that you enjoy the reading. I hope you'll pass it on to give it a like and a share so that someone else can find this work, and hopefully share the work, and hopefully wake up enough people that we can do something about gematria and what it is doing to everyone. But in the meantime, you guys have a good evening. Bye bye.